Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of the toughest personality tests on the planet, the Services Selection Board Interview, or SSB.
Now, this whole process is all about finding the next generation of officers for India's armed forces. But here's the twist. It's not about what you know from a textbook, it's about who you are.
I mean, think about it. How do you actually test for things like courage or initiative or how someone leads under extreme pressure? Well, the SSB's answer is to go way beyond academics and really dig into your core personality.
Okay, so here's our mission for today. We're going to go inside the SSB interview, look at the 15 officer qualities they're hunting for, walk through the entire 6-day selection process, decode those psychological tests, and finally see how the group tasks and interview all lead to the final verdict. Let's dive in.
All right, first things first. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty of all the tests, we've got to understand the big picture. What's the fundamental idea driving this entire selection process?
So this is absolutely key to understanding the whole thing. The SSB uses what they call a three-pronged selection system. You've got three totally independent assessors: a psychologist, a group testing officer, or GTO, and an interviewing officer, the IO. Each one evaluates you through a different lens: your thoughts, which they call manasa, your words, or vacha, and your actions, karma. And get this, they do it all completely separately. They don't talk to each other until the final decision.
Okay, so they're watching your thoughts, words, and actions, but what are they actually looking for?
Well, the entire system is built to find 15 very specific traits. They're known as officer-like qualities, or OLQs for short. And here's the whole list. They're grouped into 4 main factors: things related to planning and organization, social adjustment, social effectiveness, and your more dynamic qualities. We're talking about everything from reasoning ability and cooperation all the way to courage and determination. It's a full profile. Let's actually zoom in on a couple of these to see what they mean in the real world.
Take effective intelligence. This isn't about being a genius or acing exams. It's about being practical, finding solutions on the fly, and knowing how to improvise when you're in a tough spot.
Then there's initiative. It's pretty straightforward, right? They want to see if you're a self-starter. Are you the person who takes that first step, especially when no one tells you to?
And how about stamina? Now, this is a big one. It's not just about being able to run for miles. It's about mental and physical endurance, that crucial ability to stay sharp and functional even when you're completely stressed out. So yeah, these are just 3 of the 15, but you can already see how they're trying to build a complete picture of a potential leader.
Okay, so now that we know what they're looking for, let's look at how they look for it. We're going to walk through the entire 6-day journey day by day.
So the process kicks off on day 1 with arrival and filling out a detailed questionnaire. Day 2 is the big screening test. If you pass that, you're on to the psychological tests on day 3. Then days 4 and 5 are packed with group tasks and interviews, all leading up to the final conference and results on day 6. It is an absolute marathon, designed to see who you really are when the pressure is on.
So right on day 2, you hit stage eyes screening, and a big part of that is the picture perception test. They show you a hazy, ambiguous picture, something like this one here, and you have to write a story about it.
And this is where it gets really interesting. They're not grading your writing skills. They're analyzing your story for things like optimism, how you approach problems, and whether you create a hero who takes charge. Just look at these comments on the sample story here. They're pretty blunt. They're looking for a positive, action-oriented mindset.
Now, if you make it through that initial screening, things get even more intense. You move on to a really deep dive into your psychology. This is the Stage 2 Psychological Battery. It's a series of 4 tests: the Word Association Test, or WAT, the Situation Reaction Test, SRT, the Thematic Apperception Test, TAT, which is similar to that picture test from before, and finally, it's self-description. The whole point of these is to see what's going on in your subconscious.
Okay, let's look at the word association test. They flash a word on the screen, like blood, and you have only 15 seconds, that's it, to see it and write down the very first sentence that pops into your head.
Then another word, maybe fear. The speed is the key here. It's so fast you don't have time to think or censor yourself. It forces you to reveal your genuine underlying thought patterns. Are you naturally positive, negative, action-oriented? This test will show it.
After that, you've got the situation reaction test. You'll get a booklet with about 60 everyday scenarios, like this one. While watching a movie at a theater, you hear shouts of fire, fire, you will, and you have to write what you do. They're testing your practical intelligence, your common sense, and of course, those officer-like qualities.
All right, so after all the writing and psychological probing, the tests move from paper into the real world. It's time to see you in action.
This is where the group testing officer, the GTO, takes over. You'll go through a whole series of group tasks. We're talking group discussions, planning exercises, obstacle courses, you name it. And all the while, the GTO is watching. How do you cooperate? Can you influence the group? Do you step up and lead, or do you just follow?
And happening around the same time as the group tasks, you have your personal interview. This is a one-on-one with an interviewing officer who has already studied that detailed questionnaire you filled out way back on day one. They'll ask you about everything, your background, your education, your hobbies, really trying to get a complete sense of who you are.
So, after 5 days of intense testing, it all comes down to the final conference. This is the moment the three assessors, the psychologist, the GTO, and the interviewing officer, finally sit down together. They share their independent assessments for the very first time, and together they decide if you have what it takes. If you have those 15 qualities. It's an unbelievably thorough system that tests personality, not just knowledge. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What does this kind of rigorous process reveal about the true nature of leadership itself?